Oh, let me just. Okay, so we are live. The lighting is not giving, but it's okay. We're gonna make it work. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a moment. I'm gonna make sure that my equipment is working. If you are joining and watching the playback of this, hey, hi, hello, welcome. I hope your day is going beautifully. And just know that God is going to bless you immensely. Okay, yeah. So it seems like all my equipment is working perfectly fine. So, yes, if you are new here, please hit that subscribe button. And if you are returning, everybody hit the like button because I would appreciate it so, so much. Let me know in the live chat or in the comments if this is resonating, if you are liking the message, if you want to add anything. We are a community here, okay? So, I want to go ahead and jump right into it. Today is today's weekly Bible study. I am looking to add an extra day. So let me know in the comments what days you're free, what day you would prefer the second day to be on. So if you can't make Tuesdays all the time, we can make them on another day, okay? So yeah, today we're going to be reading messages from the book of Samuel, all right? And we're going to go from probably like Samuel chapter 1 to Samuel chapter 3. And we're not going to skip around too much, but we're going to kind of go in order. So, to be specific and get into the like specific stuff, my Bible is the New King James Version. But regardless of what version you have, feel free to pick up your Bible and follow along if you want. I would really love that. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So we're gonna start with Samuel 1 chapter 11. I meant verse 11. Samuel 1 verse 11. Okay, so let's head on over to that. Samuel 1 verse 11. It says here, then Hannah made a vow and said, O Lord of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me, and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a male child, then I will give him to the Lord all the days of his life, and no razor shall ever come upon his head. And it happened, as she continued praying before the Lord, that Eli spoke into her heart. Only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. So let's go ahead and get into some of the notes that I've written down that God wanted me to share with you guys. So sometimes in the midst of a hard situation, we may make promises to God about how we're not going to do this no more. And, you personally may not have done it, but you probably heard it a lot or heard it around you at some point. Like, oh, if so and so gets out of the situation, I promise I'll never do this again. If this happens, like, I swear I'll never do that. If this happens, I will go to church for the rest of my life, whatever have you. Okay. Just in those hard moments, sometimes we may speak promises, and when we get what we want, we may forget to uphold our end of the deal because that's what it is. We are making a deal. And when you make a deal, God always upholds his end every single time. He always comes through. So when we get the prayers that we have been asking for answered, it is important to remember in those moments some of the things that we were saying, God is going to expect us to deliver on. And even if you didn't necessarily pray and say something specific, it's important to understand that God is likely going to ask something of you in return. It isn't just take from God. It's a give and take relationship. It's called reciprocation. So, yeah, it's like an expected, any healthy relationship, it is expected that you're not the only one doing the taking, but you're also going to have to give some, right? So, it's important that because God always upholds his end of the deal, we make sure that we uphold the ones that we are expected. Okay. So the things that we are telling God we're going to do, we're going to work on, we're not going to do that anymore, blah, blah, blah. Do that. Okay. So now let's go head on over to Samuel 1:27 and read from there. It says, then a man of God came to Eli and said to him, thus says the Lord, did I not clearly reveal myself to, hold on, did I not clearly reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house? Did I not choose him out of all tribes of Israel to be my priest? Okay, hold on. I think I'm at the wrong parts. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I'm at the wrong part. 127. But this is not the right part. So I need to find where I need to be. Yeah. So when we're looking for the part where Hannah actually willingly gives the child to God. Oh, that's because I was in 127, which says, "For this child I prayed, and the Lord has granted me my petition which I asked of him. Therefore I also have lent him to the Lord. As long as he lives, he shall be lent to the Lord." So they worship the Lord there. Okay. Sorry for that little hiccup. I had flipped a little too far. So what I want to say about that is, when we ask things of God, we must also be willing to let go of some of the things that we already have. Okay. Again, we're talking about the law of reciprocation. Whenever you're constantly receiving things, yeah, you're going to be expected to give some things up sometimes. This lighting is not giving, but we're going to try to make it work. But yes, we're going to be expected to give some things up. Okay. We cannot hold on to every single little thing that we desire and we want. Sometimes we're going to have to be willing to let go in order to receive. Okay. It is showing respect, trust, faith, and obedience in God when we show that even if we do not understand, especially when it comes to letting go and letting God take over, it shows that even if we don't understand, we have respect for God and God's plan. Okay, because we don't always have to understand God's plan in order for it to be the best thing for us in that moment. All right. So now going to Samuel 3, verse 4. So it says that the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, "Here I am." So he ran to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." And Eli said, "I did not call. Lie down again." And he went and lay down. Then the Lord called yet again, "Samuel." So Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you called me." He answered, "I did not call, my son. Lie down again." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, nor was the word of the Lord yet revealed to him. And the Lord called Samuel again the third time. So he arose and went to Eli and said, "Here I am, for you did call me." Then Eli perceived that the Lord had called the boy. So I want to pause there because it's really important. Like, this is actually one of my favorite parts to read. When God calls us, it's really important sometimes that we get in that space of where it's just us and God. Like, he was laying down when God called him. Every time that God called, he went and he was laying down. Okay. He wasn't in the midst of asking, "Oh, I don't know who's calling me." And then God called him again. No, every time that God called, Samuel was laying down. And I feel like that's really important. And another thing that I wanted to say, because the anointed are of the world, or in the world yet not of it, is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes it can be really hard to tune out all those outside distractions and tune into the Lord. Sometimes God calls us to action and we may miss the first call because there's so many external things going on, so many external distractions happening around us, so much noise and instant access to anything and everything. To like, instant access isn't just instant access to the things that we need, like information, or for example, let's say you can pay your bills instantly now online. It's not only that. Instant access also is on the other side of the coin, where it's instant access to distractions, constant distractions, day in and day out. We may not answer that very first time because there's so many external voices going on. So there's a need to really tap in and get alone in order to really listen to what spirit may be trying to say, the message or the action that God is calling us to do. And sometimes when we're not grounded and we have those different voices swirling around us, it can even be hard to discern which voice is God and which voice to listen to. Okay. So let's head on over to Samuel 3:9, which is where we left off, which says, Then Eli perceived that the Lord had called the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, Go lie down. And it shall be, if he calls you, that you must say, Speak, Lord, for your humble servant hears. So Samuel went and lay down in his place. And that's another point that I want to mention. Again, he did not say, Go stand in the corner and God's going to talk to you. He said, Go lay down. Getting in solitude and getting grounded is so important when talking to God. Now, as we continue to strengthen that relationship, we may not always need to go into solitude to hear God, but there's still a necessary point where when we are alone, we are most often able to hear God the clearest. Okay. So that's the very first instruction that Eli gives to Samuel, because Samuel is inexperienced. He does not know how to tap into that energy. He does not know how to just listen and hear God in his daily thoughts and in his daily prayers. So it's important that as God is calling to him, he listens. And God has come through clearly, most clearly, when Samuel is laying down. So, yeah, just like I said, distractions and outside noise may muffle the call of the Lord. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not to say, oh, you don't have a close enough relationship. And also, some people may be able to just tap in and hear the Lord any given moment. But it's also important to still take the time to be intentional about connecting with the Lord, even in those moments where we feel like, oh, I got this down pat, Let's say, for example, we have a job that we really love and we're really great at it. We may not even think to invite God into that workplace. We may not even think that we need to hear God's voice in that workplace because we feel like, oh, we got it on lock. Like this is my domain, this is my area. But still take the time, like when you get off work, go into the car, decompress and ask God to enter your workplace. Ask God to bring to you the truth of all situations, because there's always things that you may not see that God can see, but you have to invite God in. Okay. So moving on, if you ever feel confused or unsure, even though you have prayed consistently about something, find a moment to sit in stillness. Even if it's in the car, the bathroom, or just taking a walk, find a moment of stillness, because that is where you're going to find God. Okay. So let's read from Samuel 3:15, which says, And Samuel was afraid. No, let me start from the beginning. So Samuel lay down until the morning and opened the doors of the Lord. And Samuel was afraid to tell Eli the vision. Now, this vision that Samuel is afraid to tell, this vision is spoken to him concerning God's judgment of Eli's house. So we'll read that too. In that day, God will perform against Eli all that God has spoken concerning Eli's house from beginning to end. For God has told him that he will judge his house forever for the iniquity which Eli knows, because Eli's sons have made themselves vile, and Eli did not restrain them. And therefore, God swears to the house of Eli that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be atoned by sacrifice or offering forever. So now this is where we are. Chapter 3, verse 15. So Samuel lay down until morning and opened the doors of the house of the Lord. And Samuel was afraid to tell Eli the vision. Then Eli called Samuel and said, Samuel, my son. Samuel answered, Here I am. And Eli said, What is the word that the Lord spoke to you? And the reason I want to talk about this, sometimes the messages that the Lord gives us for other people may have, I want to say may have, I would say may require us to step outside our comfort zones. It may require us to step outside the things that we feel comfortable saying to people, or step outside being comfortable in our comfort zone and not approaching people, God may encourage us, hey, I need you to approach this person. I need you to connect with them, touch base with them. And we may feel like, but God, I don't really like people. I don't really like talking to people, even people with social anxiety. And that's okay. But you're going to be uncomfortable on your anointed journey. I promise that. You're going to find moments where you're uncomfortable and you'll be confronted with either staying where you are comfortable or going where you will grow. And in order to grow, it's going to require that you be uncomfortable sometimes. Okay? So, sharing some of these messages from the Lord will require us to step outside ourselves, fear, or egos. We are God's messengers. How others choose to perceive or react to the message, that's entirely up to them. That's something that they can go to God about, okay? All we can do is obey God and trust that God knows what He is doing. Amen. So have faith. Even if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, have faith that God knows where He's directing you. Have faith that God knows why this message is so important to this person. Even if God doesn't reveal it to you, you might not ever realize what that message meant to the other person, and that's okay. That's not your business. All you can do is obey the word of God and do what you are being instructed to do. So let's go. I wanted to also talk about Samuel chapter 3, verse 11, which just says, then the Lord said to Samuel, behold, I will do something in Israel at which both ears of everyone who hears it will tingle. And the reason I love this is because if you are paying attention and you are tapped into the Lord and you're tapped into that vibration of the frequency that God is vibrating on, or that God is communicating with the anointed on, you will usually always know, like instinctively or intuitively, when a move is about to be made. Like when God told Noah to build the ark, it wasn't just like, oh, no, we'll figure it out. No, there was these small signs and little things along the way. And when God spoke, Noah listened and obeyed. But just because God spoke doesn't mean that Noah had to obey. Noah could have been like, yeah, I'm gonna put that project off for a little bit. I mean, I hear that God is telling me to build the ark, but not really feeling it today. You're going to have to also learn to obey God, even when it's inconvenient, even when it doesn't feel like the best time, even when you don't understand why that is needing to be done at this time, or why obedience in that area is necessary. When God is encouraging you to do something, act. Okay. Imagine if Noah. Hi, Adina's World. Welcome to today's weekly Bible study. Imagine if Noah just put it off. Imagine if Noah was like, oh, nah, where would Noah have been? It wouldn't have just impacted Noah either, because Noah didn't listen to instructions and be obedient. It would have impacted his family. It would have impacted all the animals. It would have impacted the entire outcome. So, my point is, God has certain key things that will happen when a shift is about to happen, when God is about to act. He will let the anointed know so that the anointed can be ready, because God will always prepare his army. Like, think about it. If God is about to make a move, he's not going to also scramble his own army. God is going to give certain key things. I don't want to say things, I want to say signs, certain key signs that if you tap in and pay attention, you will notice them and you will know to get ready. You will know to ready your weapon. You will know to ready your armor. Or God may send out a sign and be like, hey, a shift is happening. All of my anointed, all of those on the battlefield, you're about to be called home for rest. And you will know, okay, it's time to put down my weapons. Imagine if God is saying, okay, time to come home, time to relax, time to draw into yourself, time to be in stillness, and you're ready in your weapons because you're not listening and paying attention to the signs that God is giving the anointed. And the way that you see these signs and pay attention is you tap into stillness, as we mentioned earlier. You tap into stillness. Again, whether that is in the bathroom, whether you are out walking, whether that means after work you're in the car just decompressing and de-stressing, wherever it is that you can find moments of stillness, be intentional. Don't just sit and just sit in it. Sit in it and be intentional and invite God in and say, God, what is it that you're asking me to do at this time? And I promise you're going to be in sync with the anointed, because again, God is not going to scramble the enemy and tell the anointed, okay, everybody sit down and eat bread. No, once the enemy is scrambled, God is going to say, I'm so glad that my anointed have your weapons ready, like I mentioned, because it's time to act. It's time to move. It's like you got to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And if God is like, you know what? The enemy is plotting right now. They're trying to build traps, they're trying to build pitfalls. Don't go over there. Don't ready your weapons and armor and try to run over there with an attack. Now is the time to sit down and wait as we plan. And imagine if you're readying your weapons because you're like, we're about to charge an attack, and you fall into a trap because you're not really tapped in, and in those moments of stillness, making time to listen to God. That's really funny that you're in the bathroom right now, Adina's World. That's actually really funny. So God is definitely speaking. Adina's World, would you like to be a moderator, the first moderator on the channel? So yes, that's why I really love that part where it says both ears of everyone who hears it will tingle. God made sure that, hey, all of God's troops in Israel will, in both their ears, hear and have a sign that God is about to do something. And that's true still to this day. When God is about to act, the anointed will know. God's troops will know if you're paying attention. Okay. So let's see. Let's go ahead and move on to Samuel 3, verse 11, which is actually, correction. We just read that one. What I meant to say, actually, I meant to read to you guys from my notes. Okay, Adina, I'm gonna go ahead and make you a moderator. So that's actually the last message we're gonna end off on, is Samuel 3:11. And what it says is, when God is about to move, he will often ready his troops. What I mean is, if you know the signs of God, you will always have an awareness. And I mean a very keen, specific awareness that a lot of people just don't have access to. God is going to give you that awareness. And every time you're needing to pull back, okay, get under cover because they're about to launch an attack, you will know. Whenever it's time to charge forward, take action, you will know. And this isn't just about, oh, the enemy or attacking about anybody. This is also for your own life. God is going to give you signs when it is time to pull back, okay? Because something is being made ready for you. Your blessings and your answered prayers are about to happen. However, you may need to pull back and to heal, recoup, get your weapons and get everything together first before you head back out. God may be telling you, okay, replenish yourself before you head back out. But if you're not listening and you're not paying attention to the signs, it's easy to think that we need to run ourselves ragged, run ourselves, dry basically. And let's take it back to, let's say, y'all know I love using like farming as an analogy, but let's say you're a farmer, right? God is going to give key signs through the seasons. Hey, there's no need to plant your summer crop right now. It's about to be winter. I need you to pull back and go into yourself. And I need you to game plan for the next season. If you are focused and thinking, I need to hurry up and plant these seeds so I can sow, so I can reap. I need to hurry up and sow so that I can reap the things that I want. I need to hurry up and do this so that I can get what I'm asking for. But whole time, God has already given you so many, not only external, but also internal signs that that's not your season for that right now. And that's okay. Same thing. If you are in spring and you're about to approach summer and you're insisting on, well, you know what? I just don't feel like doing that. I don't really feel like planting anything. What do you think is going to happen when your season of harvest comes in October? You didn't plant any seeds because you were thinking, well, I didn't feel like doing it. So you missed a whole season, a whole season, just by not being tapped in stillness and listening for the call and the signs of God. Okay. So, you may not always know exactly when, how, or why every time, but you will be in the right place at the right time. And that is so much more important. If you want to be in the right place at the right time in your life and in general in the external collective, you've got to tap in and pay attention to the signs. And in this story, it just so happened to be that God made both ears of everyone who hears it tingle to know God is about to move. But I promise you, there are certain signs that you see every time God makes a move in your life. You just haven't noticed. Some of them you have noticed, and beautiful. I love that for you. But I'm talking to some of my people who may be newbies or beginners, especially to my people who you have been wanting your prayers answered. You've been asking and asking and asking, and God has been giving you answer after answer after answer. It is because signs are being sent to you, and you have to pay attention and tap in during those moments of stillness. And when you do, you're going to know. Okay, you're going to know. So just to take it back to the farmer analogy, all you have to do in order to be at the right place at the right time every time in the name of God is pay attention to the signs. If God is saying, hey, we're going to be going into a season of action, guys, call to action, get ready, ready your weapons, ready your armor, get ready to head out. And you're sitting there and you're like, you know what? I just feel like, not really doing too much. That that mentality, that's really the enemy trying to confuse you. God has sent all the anointed this synced up message. Hey, we need to get ready because God is going to put us to work. It's going to be time to take action. And the enemy is going to try to give you laziness. And the time that you're supposed to be preparing, they're going to try to convince you to sit down. Why do it now? It's not going anywhere. Anything that's for you, it's for you. Don't even bother. There's no problem. But guess what? When the cavalry rolls out, you're going to be left behind because you weren't ready, you weren't prepared. So just pay attention, tap in those moments of stillness. I promise you, God is always going to have you in the right place at the right time. And when the enemy is trying to set up those little pitfalls and those little traps, and regardless of who the enemy is in your life, we all have different ways that the enemy tries to show up and manifest in our life. Regardless of who it is, just know that if you're tapped in and you're listening, God is gonna send you signs like, "Hey, whoa, 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 pull back, don't go forward, don't take action yet." But if you're so busy thinking, "I have to take action so that I can get my answered prayer. I have to take action now because then what I want won't come on time." Then you don't have enough faith in God because what's gonna happen is you're going to push forward when God said, "Everybody, all my anointed, come back." Okay, let's fall back and let's recoup and let's get a plan. You're gonna rush forward without a plan. And when they catch you in a trap, you're not gonna know where to turn to or where to go. And the whole time, God was like, "Well, I saw the trap there. That's why I said come back." So yes, um, that's the message. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed this message. Let me know what you guys think. Add your thoughts. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts, even if you feel like you disagree with me on some points. I would love to hear your thoughts. Just don't be nasty about it because I'm not a nasty person and I'm not giving the message in a nasty way. And yeah, guys, is there anybody in the live chat that would like to discuss it now before I go ahead and close out the live? If you're watching this playback, you can go ahead and like go to the comments because this is going to be exclusively reserved for people that are in the live chat at the time, to basically like discuss whatever we discussed and yeah, talk it through. So yes, anyone in the live chat, do you have any thoughts, any opinions, anything that you want to add on to the message today? I would love to hear your thoughts. And yeah, let's see. um Okay, I'm gonna give it a moment or two in case anyone is typing. Another reason people do it. Adina's World says, I resonate heavy, straightening up, so can't type her up, but Adina resonates. Okay. Anybody else? If not, I'm gonna go ahead and end the live. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you for hitting that like button and subscribing. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye. Adina says, appreciate the messages. Adina has been told, definitely told to sit down. Anxiety equals the devil. Yes, that anxiety, same thing. Anxiety can manifest as a way for the enemy to try to be like, you need to act now. You need to do something now. You're not doing enough. You're not doing enough. Aren't you supposed to be doing this? Aren't you supposed to be doing that? And it's still the enemy because it's trying to convince you, not only in a way to confuse you on which voices God's telling you to act and telling you to sit, but it's also acting to confuse you from the rest of the anointed and separate you from the herd. So that instead of moving as one unit that cannot be broken down, you're moving erratically by yourself. So, and that's not to say like, oh, don't go get help for anxiety. Absolutely not. And I'm definitely not saying pray the anxiety away. Anxiety is a real debilitating thing that people experience every single day. I'm just saying that it can be used as a tool to distract and confuse. So, yes, as I said, That's not to say it's not a real illness, because it's definitely real. It's very real. And I would still encourage anyone who's dealing with it to seek someone to talk about it, seek professional help. And when I say professional help, there's nothing wrong with going to therapy. There's nothing wrong with getting counseling. It's a real thing that people deal with. Okay. So just make sure you're checking in and try to find someone genuine and preferably a professional who can help give you tools to deal with it or at least manage it. And I wish all the best. Venus Ross says, so what you said about the enemy trying to trick you? Yep, that's an enemy. Meanwhile, God coming cool, like, girl, didn't I tell you to sit down? Yes. And then it says period, because they definitely go to therapy tomorrow. So yes, please don't think like this is one of those channels where I'm gonna be like, just pray and God's gonna remove the anxiety magically, and it's never gonna happen. That might not necessarily be true. You may have to seek a professional. You may have to get professional help so you can get tools to help manage the things that you are dealing with, especially things that you got as a result of your childhood or childhood trauma. Okay. So, yes, guys, please hit the subscribe button. I love you guys so much. And I hope to see you guys next Tuesday on the live. Bye. And then did it make you a moderator? I don't think it did. Oh, there we go. I'm glad I did that. I was wondering why your messages weren't coming through. Okay, now Adina's World is the first moderator on the channel. Everybody clap for Adina. Okay, I'm gonna really go ahead and get off of here.